From optimizing sales processes to ushering in digital transformations, my guest today is a product management powerhouse. She's helped leading brands increase revenue, reduce cost, and most importantly, improve the customer experience. How? By always keeping the user at the center and basing decisions on data. At one company, she led the transformation from analog to digital products, reducing time to market by 20%. At another, she solved backlog issues, improving issue resolution by 70%. And across her career, she's built award winning products in everything from car rental systems to climate tech. She's led remote teams through major business shifts by appealing to a shared vision. And she is a leader who truly cares about driving real world impact through technology, whether through tackling climate change or improving community safety. She aims to make a difference. The talented product manager pro I'm talking about is none other than Sowmya Subramanian, currently product manager at Development Seed. Sowmya, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Dwayne. That was such a such a heavy and amazing introduction. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'd love to jump in and learn about your background, how you got into to product management. So, how do you first get into product management as a career, and is it something you always wanted to do?
I love this question because I knew that I always wanted to do the duties and the responsibilities and the rights that come with, but I never knew product management as a concept existed, right? I knew I wanted to understand why, what value proposition are you coming up with? Why are we working on these? Who are we serving this for? That has been a question I always asked. Never knew management as a career option at the time, right? And that's how many product managers would say if you ask them, like, 5 years ago, I didn't know that existed, but I've
Mhm.
always been wearing similar hats, or I wanted to wear that hat. So yeah, I started my career more as a software engineer, asked the right questions to the wrong people. I say it's the right question. And I would say that I wasn't asking the right questions for my role at the time. So then I realized, you know what? Management consulting seems like what I want to do in business analytics. I did my master's, got into business analytics and management consulting type of role, mostly focusing around customer analytics. And I thought, yeah, this is my jam. And very soon I realized it's still not it. I wanted to do more than just understand the customers. I wanted to have an impact of my work. And in management consulting, there was a limitation to what I could do. So then I found my job. The title as such was originally business analyst, then became more of an organizational excellence analyst. But really, if you look at the duties that I did, my day-to-day activities, it's not very different than what I do right now as a product manager. It was practically the same thing. I led voice of customers. I work with our team not just on like coming up with the product concept and then taking it to the market, but instead the whole portfolio of, here's our 3-year business strategy. How do we execute that, and how do we conform there within the different line of products that we have? So that's kind of how I fit in. And as I was doing that, I really found my jam. That's what I want to do. And then it was also
Mhm.
a nonprofit, so I knew that this was fun for me, and I really liked doing that. As I did more and more of that, I came across product management as a career option, as a title. That's where, when I knew that it was time to find a new job, I was far more implicit and explicit in how I communicated about my skills as well as what I wanted from my job. And then there you have it. I'm now a product manager officially.
Awesome. So, what do you enjoy most about your work on a day-to-day basis?
I think it's the tech, like how we could use tech to solve problems in many different ways, in ways I would not have thought of. Sometimes we think about ourselves and, okay, yeah, here are two things I want to do. Here's how I can think. It's the collaborative aspects of the people that I work with and the tech and the expertise in tech that people bring together that drives the actual solution to the problem. That's what I really like in the day to day. But then,
Mm,
if I take a step back, what I really enjoy the most is more of that impact. Are we look, my team wrote these 5 lines of code. Here's this GitHub repo, and look what that transformed into, right? Like when you
mm,
see how it's solving problems for people, that's what I am really inspired by on that longer than a day type of basis at the strategic level. But on a day-to-day basis, it's the people and the tech that we work with on a day-to-day basis.
mm. So what does like a typical day look like for you? Like walk us through like what your routine is like from like when you wake up to when you like go to sleep.
You uh, I did not know you want to know what that chaos looks like. No, it's all organized chaos, but I wear many different hats, especially because our company we are in geospatial tech, and we do it's more like an agency based product development company. So it's not like we build products like a SaaS company where we own the entire life cycle of it, but more so we work with clients and partners, right? So because of that, I'm constantly, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say constantly, but there's a lot of context switching.
Mhm,
So because I have to think about one project, which is essentially a product, but like a phase within that product that we are working on, right? And then switch gears to a totally different thing. And often it can even be like one is around open science or climate solutions. And then I talk to a different client who's talking about humanitarian needs. I don't
mm,
mind it because at the end of the day, there's this intersectionality, which is beautiful. So you can see how this can feed into the other thing and how these projects, and that's also where my portfolio mindset also comes into play, right? So in my mind, it's all like this very well layered network, almost like a web of things, but
mm,
it might come across as chaotic. Yeah, so I start my day with like Slack notifications because my team is spread all over geographies from India, Europe, multiple countries in Europe, in the US, multiple time zones again, in New Zealand. So you can imagine the
mm,
spread that
mhm,
we
mhm,
have. And so, just I try to catch up with folks. Here are some things that I should probably know and get myself in the right mindset of all the things that happened while I was sleeping or not working. So that's how I start my day. Then we don't do a lot of emails, but we do a lot of GitHub uh, messaging and all that. So between Slack and GitHub, that sets me up for my day. I have a little kid. He's like 19 months now. I drop him off to daycare, come back home. By the time I'll be ready, so I'll grab my breakfast, and that really sets me up for the day. And I'm like, okay, yeah,
mhm,
here are 3 meetings I have. Usually my mornings are meeting heavy, so here are the meetings. What do I need for them, right? I try to go prepared. Are these meetings where I need to facilitate something? Then I try to block extra time to prepare for it, even if I would have designed it ahead of time, of course. And then there comes other activities, like if there are like strategy type of calls within the company across projects. It's more of a listening game. What do I want out of that meeting? So I try to go in prepared a little bit when I can. Then other client related things. Do we need something from our client? Do I need to communicate something back to a client? Based on that, I would have some meetings or connecting with my teams. We operate in a Scrum light fashion, I
mhm,
should say. It's not a pure Scrum because we can't have like a team that's fully dedicated to a product. We are just not resourced that way, and because it's also not our products, right? So it's also a different dynamic from that. It works the way we operate, it does work, but that's also where we may have a Scrum call, or it might be an async update, all of the fun stuff. And then half my day would go in, okay, I don't really do a lot of budgeting work, but at least I keep an eye on, okay, do we look decent with that? Great. And then just keeping up with what does my team need clarity on? especially that's where, because we don't own these projects, our clients do. They have the direct interaction with with users. So what is it that we need from them, right? Sometimes we do have direct access to users, or our clients would be the end users, which is great sometimes. So throughout all these things, what do we need from the clients? Can we have day-to-day clarity? If we don't, what do I need to enable for my team? Those are some of the questions that I'm constantly asking. And then if it is something, and do I need any kind of feedback from my client? Because of course, the iterative nature of our work and the super fast speed at which we work on things, it's important that we keep a tab on the voice of customer, the voice of our end users, right? So always keeping an eye on, okay, have we heard, are we on the same page with our clients right now? If not, can we make it happen? Have we had a show and tell anytime in the recent past? And when I see recent past, maximum within the last month, but ideally in the last couple of weeks, right? So if not, can we do that soon? So that kind of stuff. Those are some of the key things I do. And then I'm also working on our internal business development practices. So as a product person, you can imagine, right? We come in with a totally different lens than a technical person would come in, right? What problems do you have? Why, like they may say that, okay, can you build this machine learning model that detects houses? That might be something that they come up with. And sure, we can implement on that, but that's not the best use of our time. It may not be the best use of their resources either, if we don't necessarily know the right context around it. Why do you need to detect housing, right? In what geography are you looking at? What are some nuances related to that? What problem are you trying to solve? Why do you need to know the house in there? And is this a local problem? Is it an at scale problem? Is it going to be a global, all across the world type of problem? Is it a one time problem? Do we need continuous monitoring? Or is it going to be more like, let's see if there were changes because of an intervention, right? So a before and after type of time snapshot. So understanding all of that really sets us and our clients up for the best outcome, right? So those are some of the type of questions that I often ask. And when we get into the nitty gritty of the actual development work, sometimes it's easy to lose track of those higher up things, right? So uh, that's also something where I would constantly question, but does this really serve that end goal? If it does, then that's great. If not, how can we get there? Or do we need to do this? So helping with prioritization that way, not just prioritization of our time, but also the budget that are allocated for us.
So also you've worked at some really well-known companies like ASQ and Tata Consultancy Services. What were those experiences like early in your career?
I think when it comes to Tata, I think the biggest thing was overwhelm. That was my
Mm,
main, if I had to say that in one single word. We had like 300,000 plus employees, right? And there's, I don't know, just within the entity that I worked in, we worked for a car rental servicing company, or they were our clients. And just within that, within the office that I've worked in and the team, our department alone was 10 plus people. And just everyone who worked for that client was maybe like 100 folks.
mm,
And that was a lot of chain of command, as well as information struggle, I would call it struggles, where it's like, who do I seek this information from? And that's kind of where my whole product mindset was misplaced, because I would ask the right questions to the wrong people. If you ask a tech lead, sometimes they don't know why you're doing this. Like one of the projects I was working on was a merger with a different car rental company. Keep in mind, they had totally different business models. So I would constantly, but why would they even want this merger? And they're like, I don't know, and I don't care. We need to write, this is the feature we are trying to develop here. Can you just get that done? We need this done in the next 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But, and I did it, right? I met my deadlines, but it was just not fun for me. And that's where I realized it's really hard for me to reach the right audience. And I could not reach the client. That was just out of question. Again, I was just starting out, so maybe it was even naive of me. I don't know. A company like ASQ, though, because we were mid-sized, I was privileged to have access not just to literally everyone in the company, including my CEO, but also our volunteers and member leaders and the board of directors. So I was very privileged in that way. And that's where a lot of my voice of customer empathy, all these things,
Mm.
they were nurtured at ASQ. And yeah, so I that's where I also got my Six Sigma certification, and I got trained in lean. These are I had knowledge about those things, but I did not understand the value of those things till I got into ASQ and I saw firsthand what our members, what they achieved because of these certification, because of the quality knowledge and all these different things. And I wanted that for myself. So not only did I want to learn from our customers, but I also wanted to be that quasi customer and learn it myself.
Mm. How did your career path lead you to development seed, and was there a moment that you realized it would be a great? When was the moment that you realized it would be a great fit for you?
Great question. At one point, I really subscribed to a minimalist lifestyle. This was at a
Mm.
very personal level. And then soon I realized, as I was trying to minimize further, I realized that I was creating a lot of waste. That led me to a different path into a zero waste lifestyle. And the more I
Mm.
did researched on that and the more I invested in those practices, I realized I was creating more waste than I should really be. So I was not really being sustainable. And so I went down this rabbit hole of doing more research that led to more climate anxiety. And of course, eventually I got over it. I figured out the right balance of sustainable practices, but also being minimalist and not needing to buy something new just because it's more sustainable than what I already have, right? So that's where it began. And the more I did it, my climate anxiety grew, especially with COVID, where the realm of disposables just blew over proportion, right? So that's when I realized there are quite a few things I can do as an individual. However, if I really want to see a shift in how the world reacts to climate and how we dedicate ourselves and improve the climate crises, I need to get involved in organizations if I can, or at least I want to, with organizations who are invested in this. So as I started looking for jobs, as I was ready to find a job, I was pretty much looking for companies that were somewhat in this realm. Development Seed was kind of this unique, I would say it's a unicorn for me because I wanted something that was very tech based. I wanted something that focused on climate and would be nice to have if they had more of a humanitarian angle as well. Because at that point, my rabbit hole in research was more around the intersectionality of climate and humanitarian and how everything is just intertwined, right? And so Development Seed, I came across their website. I one a recruiter reached out to me about the opportunity. So I thought, okay, yeah, this seems like a pretty good fit. The projects that they have out there seems like I can get where I want on a personal level, but at that professional level. So that was a win-win for me. And when I joined, I also, well, before I joined, as I was researching them, I realized that they were also in geospatial. So they did geospatial data is what they deal with. And I had taken like a workshop, not even like a full blown course during my master's that was in GIS. And I was like, oh, this sounds so fancy. I want to do something there. Could not do it till that point. And I'm like, now is my time. I'm doing it.
Oh, wow. I love that story. You seem to thrive really well in fast-paced environments. Where does the drive and energy come from?
That's a good one. I think it's the constant change and a little bit of that organized chaos, or if there is just pure chaos, I want I think I'm able to bring that organization so that it's more of an organized chaos. I don't think I'm meant to do a job where it's like, your entire day to day is already listed down in some format. I cannot function with a manual. That's not who I am. I need to have that freedom, and I need to just be able to do it, right? Essentially, I don't thrive in environments where I have to go through 5 lines of asking permission before I do what I do. Nor do I want someone else coming to me asking for my permission for everything. I just think decision fatigue is a real thing
Mhm.
across channels. And so if you want impact, you better get it done now. And if you really believe in it, of course, there's like a balance between I got an idea, let me go execute on it, versus here's an idea, let me put some thought behind it. I'm convinced. Maybe I need to talk to another person. So there's that uh, for my sanity, for their sanity, and for posterity, of course, that it's aligned to a larger goal than just yourself, and then go execute on it versus here's a proposal, share it with 5 people, do 3 different, like a pitch deck or other kind of presentations, all to convince people. And then, okay, how would we execute on it? Coming up with like a full project plan or something like it. And then going through all of it, because by then your idea would be stale and it's already it's too late. So so that's what I think, and I think that very much aligns with how tech is these days, right? Things are constantly changing and you better
Mhm.
adapt and react to it very quickly. So yeah, those are the
Mm.
main reasons.
Yes, you have an impressive breadth of experience, like ranging from pricing optimization to digital transformation to geospatial machine learning.
Yeah.
Like how do you stay on top of things, and like how do you watch trends, or what things do you like? How do you like keep on the cusp of what's happening in the industry?
Mostly by just doing it. I am not risk averse. So yeah, when I joined Development Seed, I was pretty transparent that I don't come from a geospatial background. I don't come from a tech heavy background. I have limited knowledge in open source, but here's what I've already learned about you. Here's what I've researched around. So just being transparent and being open to learning has gotten me where I am right now. Like I use the example of ASQ, I did not just want to do something for our clients. I wanted to be that quasi client, right? So as I put myself in those shoes, as I was the only one at Development Seed, at ASQ, who ever got certified as a Six Sigma professional. And our company has been in the market for over 75 years. I don't even recall anymore how many years they've been on now. So that should kind of give you an example of how I thrive, not just by change and a fast-paced environment, but also where I could learn and grow. If I look back a year, I do like to retrospect quite often, and I do like to think, if I look back, have I improved or am I the same? So that's what keeps me going. With regards to industry and just keeping up with everything, I've accepted that we can't. It's so
Mhm.
overwhelming though. So I try to keep in touch with people. I try to reach out, ask some questions. I think that's where the product angle really helps me, because and then there are all these amazing communities on Slack, whether it's like climate communities or conferences, some free, some paid, some in person, some virtual. So I try to find a decent balance. I'm still working on it, of my time, and where is it best invested in. Do I have local entities where I can see more of that impact? and understand all the different efforts that they're working on that relates to something that I'm working on at DevSeed. That helps me understand the lay of the land locally versus globally versus, I don't know, within a different geography. And then AI, that's a whole other thing, right? So our team wanted to invest in chat gpt, no, not like a financial, but in some of our projects we wanted to incorporate what's now chat gpt, but GPT-3 at the time. We wanted to incorporate that in our project. We knew that that could take us further than other things, and this is where I really rely on my team, my technical experts. And when they say, hey, here's something called GPT-3, that's amazing. And so then get I start, my curiosity kicks in, and I start questioning,
Mm,
why is it so great? What's so special about it? Why is it better than, say, BERT for language models? Or why should I focus on language models? Why can't I just do like web crawling type of stuff? Right. So
mm,
I go into those rabbit holes. So these things help me understand the lay of the land, and it's practically just research and a lot of Google searching.
mm. What advice would you give your younger self if like just starting out in product management? Like looking back, you're very retrospective as well, which like I think more people in the industry should be look back on like what they've done and how they can improve, and like that pushes you forward so much. But yes, what advice would you give your younger self if you're just starting out in product management?
That's a great question. I would say the main thing is I've always been asking questions, but I want my younger self to also set some kind of goals. So you're not asking questions in the dark, you're not shooting
Mm,
for nothing, but
mm,
instead set something. This is what I want to get out of this conversation. Whether you say that out loud, the more publicly you do it, the better, of course, but sometimes that's also quite intimidating. So I want my younger self to know, have clarity in what you're asking, what do you want out
mm,
of it. And as you think about it, also invite yourself to consider what they want out of it. Why should they give you this answer, especially if you're asking someone else to invest their time in sharing some to make you more knowledgeable? What's in it for them? Sometimes people do love just sharing knowledge, right? Is that all they want? How can you make sure it's worthy of their time? That would be the main thing. And the other thing is to just trust in myself and just embrace some of the changes and the chaos that happens in the day to day, because at the end it all works out.
mm. I love that. This is my last question here. We ask everyone who comes on the show this question, and that is, what's one weakness that you've turned into your strength?
Okay. I would say, yeah, that's not knowing things. That's what I turned into my biggest strength, because as a product manager, the biggest thing I'm able to do right now is ask decent to really good questions. And that only came because I've been practicing asking questions. All the things that I don't know about, I ask about it. And that has just helped me build that muscle memory into being a good and very inquisitive person and ask more questions.
Mm, I love that. Sowmya, thank you so much for joining us today on today's episode. Where can our listeners find you if they'd like to connect?
Yeah, absolutely. You can, of course, connect me on LinkedIn. I can share my link. And additionally, you can also find me on our website, developmentseed.org. Also, I have kind of a free service, not to kind of do a selfish plug here, but then shameless plug here. But I do some free coaching for people who want to get into product management or want to understand what product management in the for good space looks like. So I would be happy to have a one-on-one chat on my website, which is CRIA, CRIYA dot in. /Sowmya. So again, that's something I can share the link so all the viewers can find me. And yeah, I'll be happy to have a chat with whoever.
Okay, sure. But like that last website as well, could you share it again for those who are listening in?
Sure. So it's CRIYA.SITE /SOWMYA. So
All right.
kriya.site, my name.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us on our episode today. I loved your story, and I'm looking forward to sharing this with our audience.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dwayne. It was just wonderful chatting with you, and some of the questions you asked just got me thinking about all the different experiences I've lived through. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And thanks for listening to the Got 10 Minutes podcast, powered by Samelogic, action-based in product surveys for products. To stay in touch, follow us on LinkedIn or the podcast app you're listening to this on right now for more episodes. I'm Dwayne Samuels. Take care.